she don't care what you think. Granniopteryx, granniopteryx, she knows the truth, she's linking every link.
The British are slow to anger. They don't collect in mobs. The ones on the left collect in mobs, and we know why they collect in mobs, because they're being directed by agents for countries that do collect in mobs. So it really warmed my heart to see this headline here. Migrants must leave Epping Hotel. Oh, come on. Migrants must leave Epping Hotel, High Court rules. And Epping Forest Council has been granted a temporary injunction to prevent Somali hotels. You know, when I saw that for a second just then, I thought it was Somali hotels. It would have been a bit more appropriate. Epping Forest Council has been granted a temporary injunction to prevent Somali hotels, the owner of the famous Bell Hotel in the Essex town, from accommodating migrants through a Home Office contract. So here, what's in effect been happening is that these people are demonstrating against a diktat imposed on them by the Home Office, which has become an unfriendly power ruling their lives and their neighbourhoods. And that's absolutely marvellous. Now, you see, I was on the Tommy Robinson demo last year, and that was organised. It was organised by Tommy Robinson and his colleagues. I'm not complaining about that. But he organised it and called people to come to it. It was a national thing. This is a neighbourhood thing. You don't see this in Britain. Well, you do, but generally it's something like street parties for royal weddings or coronations, or that sort of thing. In this case, it's a street party of protest. And it's something I actually didn't expect, and I do hope that all the people, say, in this demo will forgive me for my lack of faith. Okay, I'm Granniopteryx. Please like this video, please share it, please subscribe, and if you want to help me financially, you can do that. All the links to the various methods whereby you might help me are in the description. Okay. Let's get on with talking about this momentous event. Okay, so this is a website called localgovernmentlawyer.co.uk, and it says here, Council seeks injunction to shut down the Asylum Seeker Hotel in a bid to ease community tension. And community tensions can be seen here. Epping Forest District Council, which is, by the way, a Conservative-dominated council, has applied to the High Court to stop the placement of asylum seekers in a local hotel. Protesters gathered in the town last month following news of the arrest and charging of an individual for the sexual assault of a girl and the arrest of another individual for arson. I've seen X posts in which people have said, in effect, of course, people have been committing rape in this country for hundreds, thousands of years. Why are you worried about some migrants? And the answer is, of course, because they don't need to be here. They broke into the country. I mean, let's look at it this way. I invite somebody over for dinner and we have a pleasant dinner, and then that person goes home after a nice evening. and then somebody else breaks into the house and eats everything in the fridge. And it would be like that ex-post saying, well, you give food to your neighbour across the road. Why are you worried about some migrant turning up and eating food from your kitchen? It's got the same amount of logic in it. So the council passed a motion in the wake of demonstrations urging the Home Office to stop using unsuitable hotels in small towns and rural areas to house asylum seekers. I have, on previous occasions, talked about a class of people which I refer to as ruralists. Because they may not be a working class people. They could be landowners, they could be farmers, they could be plumbers, they could be I don't know what, rubbish collectors, but they live in small rural communities where the voting power isn't that big. And that's why the government have been dumping a lot of, they call them asylum seekers. I sometimes call them migrants. They're invaders, actually. I have to be careful about how often I say that because of YouTube, though. So don't criticise me whenever I call them migrants. Well, I mean, you could criticise me, but you have to understand why I do that. So the council got annoyed about community tensions. I mean, this was look, as you can see, it looks like a pretty jolly, well-tempered demonstration, but that doesn't mean to say it would go on like that if there was any more trouble. In a ruling on Tuesday, Mr. Justice Eyre granted the temporary injunction but extended the time limit by which the hotel must stop housing asylum seekers from an initial 14 days to 24. All asylum seekers must now leave the hotel by September the 12th. And this is what's bothering the Home Office. Home Office says there could be similar applications made elsewhere that would then aggravate pressures on the asylum estate. Ha! Goodness me! When the court ruling goes through and the migrants have to move out of the Bell Hotel, then this might prompt other councils to say, no, we don't want these guys in our hotel either. Do you know how they did it? They said, planning permission. The hotel is not being used as a hotel anymore, and they did that without planning permission. It's absolutely cut and dried, and that's going to go on for all the other things as well. Yes, of course, especially the Conservative councils. They are going to stop this using that sort of an argument. And then the government's going to find itself with a lot of homeless migrants on their hands, and perhaps that will induce them not to accept quite so many of them. So it was the alleged sexual assault of a 14-year-old schoolgirl that prompted the demonstrations. Here's the full timeline. Somani Hotels got the place in 2003, and it wasn't until 2020 that the first asylum seekers arrived. That was in May. In July, there was a complaint. I don't know, Epping Forest District Council, they get a complaint. I don't know who or for what reason. Then they admit they have asylum seekers. So obviously this was a little bit secret. And then in March 2021, the hotel was emptied, and then it was refilled in October. So what appears to have been happening here is that everything's been going on in secret, and they were, I think, just hoping to wear down the locals. OK, so the leader of Epping Forest District Council says, I'm delighted. He thanked Mr. Justice Eyre. For the first time in weeks, we can see a chink of light at the end of the tunnel. You see, that town had been invaded. There was a barracks in their town of an unfriendly army. Now, some of them may have been perfectly quiet, reasonable people, but the fact is they had broken into the country. However quiet and reasonable they may be, they are here illegally. And I don't see why our government has any obligation to look after them in any way. The council highlighted community tensions I got here, and the hotel's proximity to 5 schools, and the problems of possible violent demonstrations. And Chris Phillip, the Shadow Home Secretary, oh, you've woken up, Chris Phillip, have you? The Conservative government were doing this, and suddenly they've discovered God, have they? He said local residents have every right to feel safe in their own streets and every right to object when their community is treated as a dumping ground. Hang on a minute, there was a tweet I saw. I'm just going to see if I can find it. There's going to be a cut here. Well, I found it. Here you are. This is from, you know what, I'm going to blur out that name. Okay. And he says, I'm a bleeding heart liberal. I'm pro-immigration, and I love the fact that the country I live in offers asylum to the oppressed. All right, so this is a man who loves the asylum system we have. My life and my surroundings are better because of people whose parents or grandparents came to the UK from the Middle East or Africa. Despite cultural differences or skin colour, they were still primarily British. Or were they indeed? Just a minute. Yep, found it. Would you say these people are primarily British? I'm just asking. This is a self-flagellation ceremony that Shia Muslims do, and they're on Westminster Bridge. Now, I don't know whether they have permission to be there or not, but they'd certainly taken it over. Look, there are British people who you will see at football crowds looking pretty threatening. I'm not saying that there aren't other crowds. What I am saying is this doesn't appear to me to be primarily British. Let's look at that. And I do object to a lot of half-naked men slapping themselves on Westminster Bridge. If they want to do that in the mosques, fine. I don't like the idea that if I were trying to get across Westminster Bridge at that particular time, this is the sight that I would be treated to, and I'd probably be told to go and walk down the Strand or whatever to find another bridge. All right, so let's just get to this. Despite cultural differences or skin colour, they're still primarily British. As a working class kid, I was part of the first generations to experience mixed race schooling and culture. It was the perfect antidote to the excesses of racism from the generation before me. There weren't excesses of racism. There were pockets of racism, as there always are. And there are still pockets of racism. They're just directed towards, well, Jews now, basically. But that's something else. But now he's changing his mind. That's not what's happening now. What's happening now is completely different. Is it? It's completely different, Mr. X, because it's happening to you. A large undefined number of foreign fighting age men are being transplanted into working class towns. Oh, really? And what are these people then here? They have been transplanted onto Westminster Bridge. And that, I would find that very threatening. So this has just happened in the northwest Manchester town where I live. It's come home to you, has it? In the last 48 hours, it's become obvious that a local hotel has been turned into an immigration HMO, House of Multiple Occupation. Tonight, my partner and I walked home from my sister-in-law's. The walk takes 15 minutes. Passing the hotel and the streets beyond it, we were met with an endless stream of Middle Eastern men speaking another language and leering at my partner. She was in a summer dress. The stares were entirely inappropriate. They were by British standards, not by the standards of those men, because according to them, she was inappropriate, and there were enough of those men not to behave according to the mores of this country, but according to the mores of their own countries. It felt like running a gauntlet, said Mr. X. She felt unsafe, and I found myself staring down every man we passed. When we finally got through, she told me, I would have felt really unsafe if you weren't there. Felt really unsafe. She would have been very unsafe, and she would have been lucky to have got past that Migrant hotel with her dress in one piece and herself in one piece as well. And then he says, we need to stop pretending none of this matters. Now, I understand his concern, and I'm glad he is waking up. But what I am angry about is that he would have been one of the first to call these guys a bunch of fascists. And we know that. And I'm just so happy that Epping Forest District Council have finally done something. They've done it legally, and they've done it in response to these people. So well done, you guys. Your bravery and your application. All of this takes some organising, takes some local activism. You've done good, you guys, and I admire you, and more people should do this. And then maybe the government will listen. You know, democracy, it's not been going fast enough for me right now, and I've been railing against that, but I'm very glad to say that it does actually work. I think this is an important tipping point. Okay. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.